there's such limited time. And me personally, I've always felt like, how can I maximize my time all the time to be productive, to get to a space where I'm like, once I'm there, then I can relax.
Right.
But when you get there, you're like,
what's
I can't
next?
relax. I have to go to the next thing because then I can relax.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like this never ending loop.
Yeah.
Until you wake up one day and you're like, I'm exhausted. Like I can't keep this up any longer.
One day, I feel like I wake up every day and I'm like, I'm exhausted.
I'm exhausted today.
I know it's wrong, but I don't care.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey Toast Podcast. It's Danielle and Brie here, and we are so excited to kick off another episode. And today we are going to talk about a concept and a topic that I think is very prevalent in so many areas.
Kind of broad, but
it is broad, yeah. But I mean, like, there's so many offshoots we can go from. But basically, the topic we want to get into today is
like a bean sprout.
I love beans. An offshoot would be what's the topic? Outdated
beliefs, systems.
Outdated belief systems and things that just aren't clicking and working in society today and really affect us. So let's get into it. Join us.
I mean,
join Honeybee and Drizzle D. Bumblebee and Drizzle D. It's gonna stick.
Honestly, it's pretty cute.
It is cute.
Okay.
Anyway, bear with us, everybody. We are new here and we're just trying to get into it. So
today was a tough day because it was one of those days where we are full-time moms. It's a Saturday today.
It was an intense day.
We are full-time moms. We both have 2 children who are, all 4 of them are 4 and under. So it's full on.
It's a lot.
When you have, what time is it? It is 9 p.m. So this is what time we have in the day to actually record and actually work. But here's the thing. You said this earlier. Being able and having the ability and the life to focus on a dream is such a privilege. It really is. Like, I feel so grateful to be sitting here with you, to be able to actually talk.
Yeah.
And to actually talk. Yes, I'm grateful that I could talk.
Well, to talk, because you can't talk with little kids running around. You're like always half finishing a thought in a sentence.
Yeah.
Like the other day when we were trying to finish setting up our studio, and then it's not until we get here we're like, oh my gosh, don't have this or don't have that, because
an episode overview. I mean, it probably took us 3 hours to overview and do like the notes for an episode.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot about this topic for today's episode, which is, I think the biggest key takeaway that we're going to discuss is the myth of having it all. Because how can you, as a woman or as a parent, I shouldn't just say a woman, but this is from our perspective. How can you possibly feel like one area of your life is not being sacrificed at all times?
You have to. You can't have it all. It's a myth.
You can't have it all. You can, but you can't. Well, yeah, because we're trying to. Look at us, 9 p.m. on a Saturday night recording after we get our kids to bed.
Yes.
Because this is the time that we can try and make our dreams come true. Mm-hmm. And, but I think unfortunately in today's day and age, you need a 2-person income household.
You do. Like, even if
in most cases,
like you were saying earlier, there's a work-life balance for, like, let's just say like a standard working family with both father and mother, like say a parent, like a parent role, both have to work. And then what are you doing? You're sacrificing having to spend that time with your child because you have to choose one or the other. But at the same time, a lot of us live in an economy where you don't have that option to not work.
Right.
And I mean, even like our generation, the millennials, almost are at that brink, cannot afford a house. And I think all the generations coming forward will not be able to buy a house. It's like moving more into this rental kind of state because there's just like not enough way to support having a family without having to do the work as well. So you're kind of having to have this.
And it's just so wild. It's like you're paying someone else to be with your kids all day, but you're paying them not really a choice. Less than what you're making. So anyways, that's like such a deep dive.
Well, that's
into
the
it.
double burden, right? It's you have to parent like you don't have a job and then work like you don't have a kid.
Yeah.
You're expected to do both of these things and show up in both of these ways where there is a sacrifice. So I feel like, as you said, like we're doing a woman's perspective here, but it kind of accounts for anybody. There is a piece of relatability here because there has to be a shift and conversation in how and why this isn't working and how that affects the upbringing of children even, and just like us and our mentality. Because even you and I, like, just to find time to talk about what we want to talk about tonight or on these episodes in this show, it does not come without a little bit of sacrifice of being like, can you watch the kids for this amount of time? And then it's even with Wilder, like Wilder's my son. I can tell when he acts out when I'm not spending as much time with him because he misses me, and it makes me feel guilty that I'm not spending that time with him. Right. But I also know that I have to fill my own cup and do my passions too.
And you also want to be a role model for your kids. For sure. You want to be a role model that is showing them that it's still important to take care of yourself. It's still important to fill your own cup. It's still important to follow your dreams and follow your passions and all of these things. But how can you not feel guilty when your children are having physical and emotional indicators that they're lacking in your attention, lacking in your time? And I mean, I feel very, very grateful that I have the ability to be a full-time mom.
I was just going to say, because on the flip side too, but also on the flip side of the thought you were just saying from before that, like, I know there are a lot of moms too who go through having babies and then they cannot wait to go back to work because it is being a mom is like beyond so hard beyond full time, but it's like a nice space to go back to yourself.
But here's the thing. And this is what obviously something that we very much connect over. I saw a quote. This was ages ago, and it has stuck with me and it has resonated with me so much. And honestly, sometimes when I like feel like I need to go in the bathroom and cry by myself, it just like saves me in that moment. And the quote was, "It's really easy to be a shitty parent. It's really hard to be a great one." And I think that that's why we can feel like parenting is, I don't want to say difficult in a way that I'm like, ugh, my kids. I love my kids. I love being with my kids all day. For me, there's no better job in the world. But it doesn't mean that it's not taxing on you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically.
Yeah. Well, when you think about like women historically, there was a stat like we wrote down here. We'll read it to you in a second. But it's interesting because women fought so hard for like equality and to show up in the world and be treated the same as men. And this is where that double burden comes in, because it's almost like you're expected to do these invisible chores. I say chores are like kind of contributions, which is just like laundry. And I don't know what it's like for you in your household. It could be
different for everyone.
Very spaced out and very evenly balanced. But like there's the invisible work, we call it, right? The planning,
mental
the caretaking,
load.
the mental load, the laundry, just the housekeeping, the just living that, creating the home,
getting your kids into programming, getting them into soccer, sports, all the invisible work. Is, the dentist appointments, the doctor's appointments, the school registration. But then still
being expected to show up in a masculine industry, in a masculine world, because it's like, if you want to be treated equally and you want to be in the same realm as men in the workforce, you're expected to show up the exact same way and beyond. But who's taking care of all of the other home life on top of that? So it's crazy because like back in, ancient times, like women were really seen as like these deities and goddesses, and there was like shrines, and
they were the rulers.
Like, we are literally magic. Yeah. And we bring life into this world. Like, I love that one phrase where it's like, they say, ladies and gentlemen, instead of addressing a room as ladies and gentlemen, you just say ladies and women are children of women. Because it's true. Like,
ladies and children of women, because it's true.
And that's why we're so passionate about it, because it's just like the power that we have as women are literally, we create life, the world, all the people in this world. And it's just, we've been oppressed for so many years. And just to be seen as equal and even still not paid the same in so many ways. Right. We are expected to be everything, which creates that double burden, which is like this outdated belief system of all these roles that women have to fulfill.
So it's like, okay, you need to go to work and you need to bring an income in for your household. You need to be the primary caregiver in most cases to your children. You need to be the one doing all the mental work of the organization of the schedule and the activities and the appointments and all that, making sure that they have diapers and clothes that fit them and shoes that fit them and all their things that they need for school and all that preparation. You need to, and again, this is not for every household.
Yeah.
But in my experience of a lot of my friends that have a lot of kids, it's like making sure you have the groceries and maybe you're not doing all the cooking. Adulting. You're doing all the adulting.
All the adulting.
And then you still have to go to work and work like a 9 to 5 schedule. It's crazy. However, what I will say is this is also not like a slam on men whatsoever.
No.
Because what I think has happened throughout time is that women are kind of pushed into this space of wanting equality, equal rights, equal, everything. But we have to remember that we are not men. We are women.
Which leads me into thinking we should just maybe touch on the differences between like a masculine and femininity, right? Because we hear those words all the time. But rather than just like the physical attributes between masculine and feminine, what do these words energetically really hold? What does that mean? Right. So I feel like because we live in a very masculine world, and just to kind of sum that up really quickly, that's like a very productive, effective, efficient, men are efficient,
and it's in a 24-hour cycle, which is a
24-hour
cycle.
Yeah. Whereas women we are in a 28-day cycle, like with the moon. Women are represented the feminine energy, which men and women can both hold, but feminine in terms of energetically, it's a very flowing, intuitive, soft embodiment of that. And I think often in society, that's kind of like seen as a weakness versus as how can we contribute to society in a more productive, predominant way?
And like work together.
And balance those things. Yeah.
Whether we want to admit it or not, there is a reason that Creator, whatever you want to call it, put both men and women on this planet. And it's because we complement each other perfectly.
Yin and yang.
The yin and yang. And so we, instead of viewing the natural attributes of a woman as lesser than or holding less value, those are things we need to be celebrating. Our intuition, our nurturing nature, our compassion, our ability to,
feel emotions,
turn a house into a home.
Yes.
Like this simplest things, when you walk into a bachelor pad, you know it. You know that a woman has never been in there.
Again, we're not bashing men at all.
No, but I'm just saying
no, I know.
No, but I'm saying but equally for men.
Yes.
Men have their incredible attributes that we also must celebrate, both as communities of men and communities of women. We must celebrate one another. We must celebrate each other. We must celebrate ourselves for the things that are innate in our DNA.
Yeah.
And when you can somehow take time to tune into yourself and truly go inward and think about like, what is it that drives me? Who am I underneath all of the productivity needs of my life? Who am I in my soul, in my heart? What is my passions? What is my life purpose? And how can I find that? And as a woman, I really feel like tuning in and tapping into your intuition is our greatest gift, because it will guide you. It will lead you along the path, but our society does not support that. It does not support that. We have not created a system and community that is supporting women tuning in and tapping into that part of themselves that guides them through life.
To say it's okay to do that.
Right. Yeah. And also
and even men, because there are some men who embody a lot more feminine qualities and energy versus masculine and vice versa. So it's not saying like men are masculine, females are feminine.
No. It's a balance within each individual.
Yes, but like innately and biologically, like with the cycles, for instance, with a woman, and hormonally, like it's proven there is a 28-day cycle that women go through.
Yeah.
And that is why, like, it took me, I don't even know when I discovered this, probably in my late 20s, until I even realized like how you can really function and attune into those energies and into those cycles to work with yourself and work with those feelings, rather than kind of shaming yourself and being so hard on yourself that you're not showing up consistently all the time, all the ways.
But I think also we believe so deeply that like being soft and being feminine and being like emotional
Slow.
and being like tuned into our feelings is being weak.
Totally.
And that is the furthest thing from the truth. Honestly, I'm just going to throw it out there. But I have been thinking this and saying this for so many years. But one of my biggest pet peeves is when somebody looks at another individual and wants to identify them as being weak and calls them a pussy.
Oh my gosh.
What the fuck?
That is
the biggest, that doesn't even make sense. Because guess what?
It takes so much restraint to not say anything, but yes.
Guess what? A pussy stretches like 10 times its size.
It pushes a human
It
out.
pushes a human out of it. It tears, but it snaps back. It is the most resilient part
It brings
of the body.
life into the world. It is a portal.
Right. And it's the strongest, most epic part of a human body.
I mean, that is the best compliment I think somebody could get.
That's why anytime if someone were to look at me and be like, you're such a pussy, I'd be like, well, thank you.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you. What a compliment. Hate to break it to you, but if you blow a little too hard in a nutsack, you're going down. So why all of a sudden is it the pussy that's identified as weak?
It's so true.
Or the pussy, baby.
How the pussy. That's so funny.
But it's just like we've created something within society that has, in so many facets and throughout so many avenues, identified women or parts of women or attributes of women as somehow lesser than, somehow less valuable. And it all kind of goes back to like, if you're a woman in today's world, you're either viewed as weak or as a bitch. Almost like a little bit.
Well, there's definitely, I
Of
would
course
say,
there's
like,
other
there was
categories,
like
but-
definitely categories that one can fall into. I mean, I think
Like
that
the good
I think
girl
that there's
versus
a
the-
pressure.
Yeah.
Yes, the good girl versus the bold woman, right?
Yeah.
Like it's almost like there's, oh God, how do we even sum this up in a sentence? Because this is the kind of topic that just requires so much discussion and conversation, because there's so many avenues you can go through. But the good girl archetype is kind of just like who you really think you should show up and how you should be. It's like, it really is about acknowledging that this is not a personal failure when you feel inadequate for showing up consistently and not showing up consistently in the way that's praised or valued, versus it being a systemic failure.
Right.
Because this is how it's kind of like designed to be valued. And even without going too far into like, beauty standard pressures and stuff like that, like let's just go back, let's say in the 80s, like anchor women, the full makeup, big boobs, blonde hair, blue eyes, like, or you can even go back into like, without getting too political and historical, but the Nazis, and with like the World War II, they wanted to
Totally
create a specific look and a type of citizen or
like how you look,
person
an image, and
has
your
power.
genetics has power.
And that again is a systemic issue. And how does that work when you're born genetically different? You're feeling inadequate because it's not something that's praised. Or even if you look at like Victoria's Secret models, like, oh, I'm not 5'10", I might be looking like one, but I could be 5'2", but I just cannot make the cut because of my genetic differences.
Right.
So you get praised for very physical attributes in this world. You do. And you get pretty privilege is a real thing. Like that's a huge like trend on TikTok. And, people come out and talk about how does it feel to have pretty privilege, and people can make videos and responses to that.
Yeah.
But that's something I want to emphasize, is that acknowledging that feeling of inadequacy, of not being able to fulfill all of these roles that are kind of expected to be fulfilled as a woman specifically, is not a personal failure. It really is a systemic failure.
Agreed. Yeah.
And that's something that kind of we don't talk about, I think, enough and challenge enough, where it reflects back into women who have the ability to try to fulfill all those roles, and they do, but in some way or another, we become exhausted and something gets sacrificed along the way. Our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health, spiritual health, something's not gonna...
And that's just as an individual.
Yeah.
Let alone the sacrifices that you feel like you're making in your life outside of yourself, which is like, well, if I'm going to work, then I feel like I'm sacrificing time with my kids. Well, if I'm spending time with my kids, then I feel like I'm sacrificing my self-care or being able to bring in an additional income to my household. If I am trying my best to balance those two things, well, then I feel like my friendships and my family relationships are being sacrificed.
For sure.
It's every time you turn around, you're exhausted and you feel guilty.
The amount of time self-care is sacrificed to this day.
All the time.
The sound of it is so nice. I'm like, a ritual, a morning ritual, like a self-care day. It's almost like it's such a privilege to have that.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, for instance, my birthday's coming up. So it's like, oh, well, a massage would be great. Where it's just like, why can't we enforce having like a massage with yourself or your partner every other night? Make that like a regular routine.
Every other night,
but like, girl. I know, well, that's me. I would love that.
Damn.
But I'm just saying, like, there's such limited time. And me personally, I've always felt like, how can I maximize my time all the time to be productive, to get to a space where I'm like, once I'm there, then I can relax.
Right.
And when you get there, you're like, I can't relax.
next?
I have to go to the next thing because then I can relax.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like this never ending loop.
Yeah.
Until you wake up one day and you're like, I'm exhausted. Like I can't keep this up any longer.
One day, I feel like I wake up every day and I'm like, I'm exhausted.
I'm exhausted today.
Can I tell you how many times I hit snooze on my alarm? And then until finally one of my kids wakes me up and I'm like, well, so much for that morning routine I was hopeful for. I was too exhausted.
Well, lucky for me, now I have one of your children as my alarm clock.
You're welcome. And every morning she literally gets out of bed and goes, I snuck out of bed so that I could go wake her up.
Perfect.
Like,
I always think that I'm going to hear you being like, don't go in a room. But I'm like, I secretly think that you tell her to go into my room.
I 100% do not. I literally don't even know that she leaves. Okay, so currently we're all staying in a house together. And my oldest daughter, who is 4, is sleeping in my bed with me because we're limited on rooms. Yeah. And she is so stealth. She's a 4-year-old ninja. She sneaks out of those covers and out of that room like you know when people are like walking backwards and like looking.
She is very quiet.
Like how in the world?
I only hear her.
I'm
she's whispering
awake
to me.
Like I'm awake when she leaves, but I'm like my eyes are closed, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I literally don't know that she's.
I just hear the whisper in my ear.
Side tangent.
Can I wake up Wilder? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. As long as you don't wake me up. No, today.
Get out of here.
Without going off too far on tangent, but I just have to tell you, but today when I was laying at the pool and I was like getting like a 30-minute charge in the sun, I was like just about to fall asleep. She walks up to me. She's like, are you sleeping? I'm like, well, not now.
Shocker.
I was like, I can't. She's just so
sweet.
pure and
She's
sweet.
So
yeah.
sweet.
I'm like, I can't
so
even
sweet.
react. I'm just like, she's just, anyway,
I know.
off topic.
Anyways, to bring it back to, you know, where we're going, I think that something that we can all work at, and we can work together on this. And I think that this is such a great community topic of discussion, is how can we redefine having it all? Like, truthfully, how can we redefine what that means for each of us as an individual? Because I think that that's the other problem, is that there's like this overcasting image of what that looks like, but we're all different. Why on earth would we all try and have the exact same life?
Yeah.
And the exact same balance and the exact same dreams and hopes and goals and achievements and all these things? We're all different. So I think that each individual needs to sit with themselves and ask themselves that question, like, what does it mean having it all for me? What does that look like? And
Such a good question.
What actually makes me feel fulfilled?
What brings me joy?
What brings me joy? What makes my heart feel happy?
That is such a prominent question.
And then when you can start to figure out those answers, then you kind of like do like a backtrack on it. Like, let's work our way back. Well, what are the steps in order to be able to get there? Like, what does that look like for me? And making change in your life is so hard. It is so hard. It's so scary. It is, you feel sometimes
You don't even know you need to change
like
sometimes.
you're stepping off of a ledge into the abyss and you have no idea what's down there. But are you really happy with where you're at on that ledge?
Mhm.
Like in that limited small space that you're currently living in? Like, is that bringing you joy? Because where's the risk fall? Like, what is the bigger risk? Staying in that small contained space of unhappiness or jumping off the ledge and seeing what life has for you?
Well, that's the thing too. I feel like a lot of situations, a lot of people might feel like are inevitable, or that's just the way their life can be and is formed. And a lot of situations are like this.
Absolutely.
You have to work, you have to put your kid in daycare, or you want to, or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to do X, Y, and Z. And this is the way life is. Otherwise, these things are gone. This person's out of your life. And this is just the way life is. I accept it. I may not be happy about it. I might not be enjoying it, but I accept it. But what you just said, by just simply taking a step back and observing, I don't know why I had to pronounce every letter of that word. Observing every area of your life and just asking the question is a huge, huge step.
Huge.
What brings me joy? How do I feel joy? And it's
And, like,
such a tough
fulfillment.
question. It's so funny because I've even asked myself that question so many times, and I'm like, I feel like my life is great, but what truly brings me joy? I'm like, you know, when you do those partner questions and stuff, and I find it very difficult to answer because I'm like, okay, true joy. When have I felt true joy? And it's not like change your life, leave this person, change this job, move to this country. It's not, we're not saying that at all. We're just saying, take a look at the lens, look at your life through a lens a little bit further back and just analyze where it is you feel happy and what that success looks like for you.
For example, I think that we also have this like constant invisible pressure of what we should be doing. And so it's like, oh, my, neighbors are having this party tonight. It's a potluck. They invited me. But you had a really hard week at work or with your kids or at home or with your partner or with your family or whatever. And you feel like you desperately need a night to just like turn into yourself, have a bath, do a meditation, do some breath work, read a book, do a journal entry, whatever it is. But you don't, because you're like, oh, I don't want to let those people down. And I already committed.
So true.
And I told them I would be there. And like, I don't want to be that girl. Let me tell you something. That girl, nobody's going to care that you aren't there.
If you didn't show up, I would care that you're not there.
That's not, and well, you know what I mean. And I'm not saying that in an offensive way, but I'm just saying like the world will not crumble if you don't go to that one thing.
But also, is that not just the innate state of who
It
a woman
is.
is? Like,
Because we feel like we
put
have to-
ourselves last. It's so easy to put ourselves last until we come to a point of crumbling.
At the breaking point.
A breaking point.
Yeah.
Because I've done this so many times with myself. I'm like, it is so easy to put off what I need to do for myself so I can show up better for this person. And you think you're showing up better because you're there for that person first. But if you do not do that first thing for yourself, it'll always backfire eventually, just depending on when.
And honestly, like this is something that I've had to learn for myself. Big time. I grew up in a household that was very much, I'm going to preface this by saying my mom is an angel.
She really is.
You know her? I mean, my mom is an absolute angel. But I grew up in a household where my mom very much always put herself last. And that's not like an insult towards her. That was just the reality of the situation. My parents ran their own company. They had 3 children. They were not financially well off. They did everything that they could to sustain life for us and have us in programming and dance, soccer, whatever. And so when you're raised by a female that essentially has 0% of her life and energy put towards self-care, you have to, as a woman, learn that. like I am now as a mom and a wife and a human and a woman in this world trying to find ways and not feel guilty. I cannot even tell you, I'll never forget this day. I was exhausted. I had a rough night with Lily, my youngest daughter, the night before. I hadn't slept well. We had been traveling. Something was going on. Anyways, I was like, it was like a rough handful of days, 5, 6, 7 days. And I had this one day where I was like, I am going to go. It was like 2 p.m. Lily was napping. Aubrey was there, but she was chilling. I was like, I'm going to go in the bedroom and I'm going to have a bath in the middle of the day.
Okay.
In the middle of the day. And I sat in the bath and I cried. And I feel like I cried for like so many reasons. I cried because I felt guilty that I was not momming middle of the day. I felt like I cried because I was like, why is it so hard for me to take care of myself? I feel like I cried because
I was saying cry. It's going to make me cry.
I feel like
I don't know why my eyes are tearing.
because I was freaking exhausted.
Yeah.
Like it was just this moment in my life that made me realize that, holy shit, like I don't want to end up like a mom that is showing my daughters that you can't take care of yourself. And so literally, I'm not joking you, after that day, when my kids get very upset every time I separate from them. It is
True love.
it's true love. But now I feel like I felt such an angst separating from them before. Whereas now, like if I'm leaving to go to the gym, or if I'm leaving to go to a Pilates class, or even if I'm leaving to, you know, I don't go out for lunch with my friends. I really don't have that many. But if I'm like leaving to go and do something for myself, I feel so much more grounded in my response to them, which is, it's important that mommy takes care of herself too, so that I can show up and be the best version of myself as a mom for you. Just, and I'll say, you know, to Aubrey, like, you know, when Lily, like you and Lily are having like a hard day and sometimes you just need like your own separate time so that you can refuel and like re-get your energy. I was like, it's important that mommy does that for herself too. But why was it so hard? Why is it so hard for a mom and a woman to feel like they can do that for themselves and not feel guilty?
I think there's also to a spectrum of people out there, obviously, goes without saying. But
Of
like,
course.
you know, even single mothers, which I don't even know how you single mothers out there do it. Like, you should be given awards.
100%.
Financial abundance rewards from the government. Because you're raising the world here. You're raising little humans that are going to be part of this society. Really might ask that question, like, when can I have the luxury of doing that? Like, it's really like when you're going postpartum, they say just being able to have a shower is a gift.
It is.
Right? But I feel like if you're in a partnership, I mean, these are topics I think we're going to really dive deep into, like relationships, navigating partnerships, and new motherhood and identity crisis. Like, this is just all the kind of topics we really want to go further into and explore in this season together. I think today is just kind of like an overview of the concept of an outdated belief system, which is this double burden that we're talking about of being able to show up in all these different areas. But
and redefining that for yourself.
And for yourself. Yeah. So I think that for today, to kind of like really what you can take away from this conversation, and our conversations just like never end, they just keep going and keep going, is to really analyze that those moments, or just catch those moments when you're feeling that, like, I'm feeling really authentic and happy in my day and myself, and I'm really enjoying this moment, and just say, why is that? Is that because I just had, like, last night I had a moment to myself so I could recharge, or this morning I have a little bit more support so I could step away and then come back to, or it's just really about kind of like questioning the norm, or like questioning the day, like questioning what's going on,
and being
observing
and
a bit
finding
more.
a place where you're able to get so in touch and in tune with yourself that you don't feel like you have to justify it.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you have to explain yourself to anyone, because showing up for yourself and showing up in the world as your most authentic self, no matter what that looks like, it's all good.
That's all you need.
And it doesn't matter what anyone thinks, says, feels about it. Like, that's what you got to do for you, because
Agreed.
the ripple effect will happen.
Yes.
So kudos to us women for
Being the best.
trying to figure it out. We're trying to, just so you know, we are also trying to figure it out. This is why we have these conversations.
Well, this is exactly why, you know, we're starting this podcast, is because we want to evoke these types of conversations and trains of thoughts. And like, you guys can find us on Instagram at the Honey Toast Podcast. We're going to be on TikTok, on YouTube Shorts. This is a visual podcast. So if you want to see what we look like, you can come check us out. Take a peek. And then also, we would love to hear from you and interact and connect with you guys. And if this is something that really spoke to you, this type of conversation and this kind of topic, we would really love to hear from you. Send us a DM, send us a message, or just, we will be on social so you can comment on a post. And we just would love to connect and have further conversations.
Because we're real people too. And as much as we have each other, like, the bigger the community, the better. So we're
Women
here for you.
need women.
Yes.
And people need people. Like, you know, this is what life is about: connection, friendship, experience. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. It was so nice to spend this time with you. We really appreciate you spending the energy and time. And we look forward to chatting a little bit more on next episode, which I believe we're going to get into a bit more of
Identity and cycles of change,
which is, again, a huge topic. I think this season is just about tackling these massive overviews of topics, and then as the seasons will go on, we'll start to really
get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, get into that nitty gritty
and all that jazz.
All right, thank you guys so much, and we will see you soon.
We hope to hear from you. Honey Toast out.
If I wanna be as eyes for eyes, lips for lips, skin